It's almost a daddy bag. He doesn't have a daddy bag.
Really against cracking eggs, man. Take out the yolks, crack them.
Yes, Delano. The fuck you mean? I literally was just playing this morning.
Butter now an animal as well. He's pretty good at this. His butter is a living animal at this point. So friggin' PETA milking a cow to make that butter is inhumane. Grab the stuffing and drag it over to the turkey, and please be careful not to use too much. Stuffing. Now we stuff the shit right back in the turkey. Honestly, I'm not a big Thanksgiving turkey fan, but it is definitely not this unappetizing, PETA. This is a gross over-exaggeration. Remove the head. Okay, now we're gonna remove the head. All the guide arrows on the screen and saw back and forth with the head. I mean, it's dead.
Oh boy.
I cook a mean turkey. Lean. Turkeys are bred to grow so quickly that their legs cannot support their weight. Countless birds slowly starve to death within inches of food after being crippled and unable to eat. Well, I'll tell you on that one. Make the giblet gravy. Chop the neck. Follow the guide arrows on the screen to saw back and forth to cut the neck into 3 parts. Perfect. Beautiful. Yum.
Hey all you cool cats and kittens. The Netflix hit documentary series Tiger King gave us Carol Baskin, the Mother Teresa of cats, as named by her third husband, Howard.
I think it would be fair to say that Carol is the Mother Teresa of cats.
But is Carol lying about her ex-husband's disappearance and how she came about all these big cats? If you haven't watched the Netflix docu-series Tiger King yet, this is your official
Carol Baskin said she was running out to get Tiger King at 3 a.m. and her car broke down. She called her brother for help, and he worked for the sheriff's department at the time. He was on a case, so he sent another officer to pick her up and drive her home. That's when Carol says she saw Don. He was leaving the house early that morning around 6 a.m. No one has seen or spoken to him since. When Don's body didn't turn up, the Hillsborough County Police Department sort of stopped looking. And then, this spring, the new sheriff watched Tiger King, and all of a sudden, Don's 23-year-old cold case started heating back up again. If you haven't seen it, or if you even have, the show is a bizarre documentary about a feud-turned-murder-for-hire plot between Don and Carol's Tiger Sanctuary and a zoo in Oklahoma. On the show, their rival Joe Exotic claimed that Carol killed Don and fed his body to their tigers. 64 million viewers had a few theories of their own about that.
Can't convince me that it didn't happen. Fed them to tigers, they snapped it. What's happening? Carol Baskin.
The sheriff says Carol is not a person of interest, but try telling Don's daughters that. You won't believe what they're doing to keep the focus on their former stepmother. Meanwhile, Carol is taking it all in stride, literally. She's on Dancing with the Stars this season, and she still insists she had nothing to do with Don's disappearance. But a lot of people aren't quite convinced. Not even this guy.
There's not a shred of doubt in my mind that that lady's husband. I'm just saying.
And this story just gets stranger from here.
O.J. Simpson said that. O.J., I would get your barrel shit if I was you. Let's talk about Nicole then, buddy.
All the crime crime in half the time, you're in the right place. It took Netflix about 7 hours to tell part of this story, but we're going to keep it focused so you can go binge the documentary later. When Don Lewis went missing in 1997, he was worth over $5 million. A lot of that was money he and Carol had earned flipping properties. But in 1992, they also started an exotic animal business called Wildlife on Easy Street. That business is at the heart of this story. In the exotic animal world, there are conservationists and collectors. Carol is a conservationist. In her words, she believes in providing sanctuaries and stopping owners who want to breed and sell big cats. Her former husband, Don, was more of a collector. So was her rival, Joe Exotic, a.k.a. Joseph Maldonado Pastor. He owned a zoo in Oklahoma and told anyone who would listen that Carol murdered Don and either used a meat grinder to get rid of his body or she buried him in her septic tank. Netflix turned a spotlight on Joe and Carol's longtime feud and sparked national speculation about Don's disappearance. We'll get into the many details and theories about what might have happened to Don, but for now, all you need to know is that he almost literally vanished without a trace in August 1997. At the time, Carol cooperated with the investigation. She's even the one who reported him missing on August 19th, 1997, but she refused to take a polygraph. And without any evidence to go on, she was never considered a real suspect or even a person of interest. Where did Joe Exotic come up with that rumor? He must know something, right? Well, maybe, maybe not. Don's own daughters were the first to suggest that maybe the police could find no trace of Don because Carol had fed him to the tigers. They aren't big fans of their former stepmothers. In 2002, she had Don declared legally dead. His 4 kids expected to inherit a good portion of his money, but then Carol blindsided them with a will that seemed a little too good to be true.
Who has ever seen a will where there's a provision in there, if I ever disappear or become missing, leave the bulk of my wealth to this person?
What does Carol have to say about it? According to her, that clause was perfectly reasonable since Don traveled to Costa Rica regularly and dealt with a lot of shady characters. He was the kind of guy who could just disappear without a trace, and it wouldn't even be that unusual. He'd even told her stories about people disappearing in Costa Rica. She said Don was a sex addict who needed it every day and went to Costa Rica at least once a month to have sex with other women while Carol was having her period. On August 20th, 1997, police found his van at the private airport where he kept his planes. His keys and briefcase were on the floor inside the van, but no other evidence was found. Police searched his property but didn't find any signs of struggle or any crime. Carol told the police one of his business associates said he'd seen Don in Costa Rica after he disappeared from Tampa. But listen to what Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Cronister told Tampa Bay News about that.
Yes, we recovered his car at one of the private airports, but we pulled all the passenger manifests. He wasn't on any type of plane, commercial or private, that left the country. More importantly, he had 2 passports. Neither one of his 2 passports were flagged as leaving the country during this time period either. We also, John Marsicano at the time, and another detective flew down to Costa Rica. No one down there had seen him in several months prior to his disappearance.
With no sign of their father and most of his money in Carol's hands, Don's family called foul, saying the will was fake. Carol hired an expert who, surprise, surprise, agreed it was authentic. Then 4 other experts weighed in, saying it was forged. And then a former big cat rescue volunteer revealed that Carol told her to lie and say she witnessed the power of attorney being signed. In June, a judge made it official. Don Lewis's will was fake, and his signature on the power of attorney was forged. Thing is, it doesn't matter.
The problem was the statute of limitations had already expired. The will had already been executed at that point. There's no recourse. A judge deemed it valid, so the civil side of it, with the execution of the will, the disbursements of the funds, is one thing. And then you have the criminal side of it. It's unable to be prosecuted because of statute of limitations.
Carol still insists the paperwork is genuine, and she had nothing to do with her husband's disappearance. Ironically, also in June, Carol won another victory in her years-long feud with Joe.
A federal judge gave Carol Baskin control of Joe Exotic's former zoo in Wynwood, and
That judge also ruled that everyone on the property must vacate within 120 days. The animals must also be removed.
He was sentenced to 22 years in prison for killing tigers and trying to hire a man to murder Carol. Then on September 9th, the ex-wife of Carol's longtime handyman made a confession to 48 Hours. Trish Farr Payne says her ex-husband Kenny Farr was acting very strange in August of 1997. She claims he showed up one night with Dawn's van, his guns, and a large padlocked freezer that disappeared off her front porch about a week after Dawn vanished. Trish says Kenny allegedly told her, "Dawn's gone and I don't want you talking about him," 2 days before Carol reported him missing. When she pushed him for answers, he said, "Don't ask me questions you don't want the answers to." But finally, Trish says he threatened her in a way that left no doubt in her mind what he was capable of.
Listen, if you try to leave me again, I will put you in the grinder like I did Dawn.
If you asked Trish why she didn't spill this secret before now, she'd tell you what she told 48 Hours. "I was afraid for my kids. I was more afraid for them than anything." Kenny worked for Carol for years after Dawn disappeared, until he was arrested for domestic violence. But still, Carol wrote on her blog that she loves him like a son. She says she gave Kenny the guns after Dawn disappeared, and she doesn't believe he had anything to do with it. And Kenny himself emailed a statement to 48 Hours simply saying his ex-wife's claims are ridiculous. The Hillsborough County Sheriff says they are exploring all leads, but they don't have a suspect yet. But Dawn's family isn't about to give up.
We're asking that anyone with vital information please come forward so that progress can be made on this case. Years ago, when my sister called, Dawn called me to tell me the devastating news. I was shocked. I still, to this day, miss my dad. I love my dad. For 23 years, I've gone to bed every night knowing the only chance I'll ever see him again is in my dreams. For 23 years, I've woken every morning to the heartbreak of his strange disappearance. But hopefully, with all this help we now have, one day soon, we, and you too, will know.
Right now, I'm just streaming as much as I can.
Cases unfolding before our eyes in something very unusual. On September